Welcome back to Beyond the Brick. I am Boone. I am here with JANGBRiCKS. We have had the pleasure of being down with his city. You can see some videos on our channel about that. But now we're just going to have a little conversation. I just want to thank you so much for having us. This has been a real pleasure and getting to meet your dog,
Bimo.
So first of all, you spoke with Joshua last year kind of about the big history of your experience online, your reviews with the RC cars, your YouTube before you got into Lego and YouTube since you've been doing Lego stuff. Can you kind of zoom in on just, the last 5, 6, 7 years since you've been doing Lego on YouTube and give us kind of like, I'd love to hear about the highlights, maybe some of the things that you did really well along the way, some things maybe that you might have done differently if you had the opportunity to go back.
Wow, that's a very long journey. It's only been a handful of years, really, but gosh, has a lot of ups and downs, mostly ups and sideways kind of movements. I'm doing very similar things now to what I started when I really began to take the Lego world more seriously. I had the early period, 2010-ish to early 2013, where I was just doing the little side hobby with the Bionicle mocks and the Hero Factory stuff, and then I got serious about the brick built stuff, which I intentionally tried to stay away from. I probably talked about this last year, but just I know that it was going to grab me if I let it. It was going to grab me. It was going to grab me hard, and you've seen part of the results of that.
Right.
And not to mention the reviews. 300, 400 reviews per year.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of felt like a blur at some points, but gosh, I don't even know where to start. The foundation of the channel in its modern form has definitely been the reviews,
right.
And it's something that I've continued to keep at the forefront at the request of viewers. I've asked multiple times, and YouTube now has the ability to poll viewers directly. So I've asked multiple times to the broad audience on the whole, what do you want to see me do the most? Because I've done a lot of different types of things. I've done the individual custom builds, which I definitely enjoy very much, and it's kind of one of the key things of Lego itself for me is the creativity. I've got the city where it brings together multiple custom things and creates systems of custom things. I've got the reviews of different themes, popular themes. I've tried different ones that aren't quite so popular to see if I can make them more popular or if they're more popular than I think they are. Just experimenting for the sake of experimenting. I've started trying to do a little bit of the news. When some announcements come out, I haven't been able to keep up with that completely this season because of just other things that I've been working on. But I can't see you. Come on down, lay down. But yeah, I've done so many different types of experimented with so many different types of videos, and also even trying with non-Lego compatible brands. Definitely, I think a mistake that I've made is branching out too far. And honestly, if I could do it all over again, I would probably do very similar things because I've liked learning from mistakes. I've liked trying different things. It's really important not to pigeonhole oneself into one small little thing, especially with something that's a creative, a creative pursuit or a creative-based pursuit, even if doing reviews is not a particularly creative thing. Trying the different themes that I wasn't interested in before and finding out about all these pieces that are amazing and different building techniques and just expanding has been good. But ultimately, especially in the most recent couple of years, the way that online media works, the way that people interact with it, and the way that YouTube in particular works has really wanted and promoted very small niche channels. Where you really focus in and have one type of content and don't deviate too much from that.
And your viewers can count on what they're going to see.
Exactly. So I think I've spread myself a little bit too thin. Again, if I rewound, I would probably do a lot of it again because it's been good experiences.
Right.
But it's time for me to really focus in a little bit more on at least on a per channel basis. So that's what I've been kind of, especially in the past year since you guys were last here. Since that guy over there was last year, I've tried to focus in a little bit more. I've cut back, kind of cut off some of the, not fat, but just places where I don't specialize, like the Friends themes, Friends related themes. I haven't done as much Technic stuff. Some of it is super cool, and there's huge communities out there, folks that love that. But I've never been a specialist in that, and it's just better for me to not invest that time so much into that stuff. So, evolution has been occurring.
Yeah. So you've alluded a little bit about how much YouTube has changed and how much you've learned along the way about the platform.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on now, and where are we headed?
So I definitely don't know where we're headed. Every time that I've tried to figure that out, I've been wrong. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have. Sure. But I mean, especially recently, there's been a lot of problems. There have been a lot of problems on YouTube. Obviously, there've been the safety issues, the many adpocalypses, and the issues with the algorithm, and stuff. A lot of stuff has gone wrong with the platform that has ultimately hurt a lot of people, and I'm definitely in that group. I've definitely been, the JANGBRiCKS channel has been impacted directly, negatively, and strongly by a lot of the algorithm changes and a lot of the evolution in the platform, as it has had to deal with bigger problems than were expected. So I've had to, especially in the past year, put in a real concerted effort to change myself. It's difficult when you don't know what the problem is. Like if you're doing, oh no, I just turned off all the lights. Let me turn that back on. I'll be right back to you. Yeah. So it's been difficult to figure out how to adapt to changes in the platform, the algorithm, and viewer behavior and everything when I don't know what the problem really is. I don't know how any of it really works. Right. How opaque it is. Everybody talks about the opacity of the algorithm. Nobody knows how it works. And there have been a lot of people who have done very scientific, large sample studies to try to figure it out, based on A/B trials of a million different things, changing the length of titles and changing the length of video, doing the same content, splitting up, all those sorts of different things. So we have some information about it, but a lot of it is not known. Like, why has my viewership gone down that much when I have continued to do the same things for the most part, and more of it, and higher quality, like literally, switching up to higher frame rates, better bit rates, and improving my lighting and everything. Why does my viewership go down? So it's been admittedly tough, to see something that I thought was going great just evaporate, quite a bit. A lot of people can look at my channel and say, oh, he's got over 1 million subscribers. That's just one number, but viewership is a different thing, and most viewership on YouTube does not come from your subscribers. It comes from all the recommendations to random people. I think on my channel, it's something like between 70 and 80% of viewership is not from people who are logged in and subscribed. Right. So it's been a lot of questioning myself, questioning what am I doing, trying to look around and see if anybody else has figured it out. Nobody really has. A lot of it comes down to luck. Right. You see some content that gets crazy viewership, even some of my own content that still gets crazy viewership that doesn't make sense. Like, that was not a good video. Why is it getting so much viewership? So I like to problem solve. I like to be challenged, but not having any data as a basis to figure things out has been the toughest thing for me. Not knowing what I don't know has been rough.
And do you think more transparency on YouTube's part could help creators, or do you think is it a lost cause and we're not going to figure it out, or can you imagine some future in the next few years where these things are working better for creators?
I don't see it changing dramatically in any particular direction because the whole situation that we have right now has been an evolutionary process itself. You know, the algorithms have changed over time. The crises that YouTube itself has been through have come up organically over time. I don't think so. Definitely some more transparency would help everybody. You know, just understanding, what do you want me to do? What is the right thing to do? But ultimately, no platform, especially that's very large, can give away the keys to the kingdom to that degree. None of them can say, do the following and we'll give you viewership or we'll give you ad money or something.
Sure.
Because then everybody will just exploit it and use it wrongly. You know, and you've seen that in the past with the waves of the different types of clickbait titles and icons, and they now have less weight on that, you know, that they've responded to that. You know, there's so many people that just want to make money or just to get views and will exploit information that people who aren't trying to exploit just want to know so that they can get their message out or get their toys, shown to more kids of all ages, you know. So I definitely don't see any more sea changes coming, but that's not to say that there won't be dramatic changes, just as there have been over the past few years. And fortunately, you know, like I said, there have been a number of folks who are scientifically minded who have gone through the work to try to decode some of it, to at least answer some basic questions. Like, should I have long titles? Should I have short titles? You know, give me something. And some of that information is readily available. You know, if you just look for, you know, blog posts and white papers about YouTube algorithm decoded and stuff. But ultimately, it all comes back to making a connection between what you're doing, the content that you're making, and the viewers. You can do everything what you consider to be perfect. If people don't want to see it, they're just not going to look. And it doesn't matter how the algorithms are set up. As long as they're not set up terribly, if people don't want to see a type of content, they're just not going to watch it, you know? Yeah. And people's attention span has changed, and there's a lot more media available. You know, there are more different sources that, you know, other than just YouTube. There are other apps and there are other places that people spend a lot of time. So no matter what, I need to adapt, you know? And that's something that that's been difficult to accept in some ways, given how well things were working before, and the fact that I've put so much I've put so much effort into just nose down, so much effort into trying to improve what I've already done, what other people consider to be right or well, and just trying to do that better. But, you know, still, I've needed to change a little bit more.
Sure. So you mentioned, well, let's see, let's go to the things that you're trying.
Yeah.
So in the last year, you've established 3 different channels.
Okay, yeah.
3 additional, or are there more?
I think it's just 2 major new ones.
Okay.
2 major new ones, build channels.
So one where you just build.
Yeah.
And one where...
three.
Yeah, okay. So one where you just build, one where you've got like the building with some music, one where you've got the building with no music, right? Is that the 3, or is it one of them?
The third one is the quick builds channel.
Oh, the quick builds.
Right. So the quick builds thing was an experiment that I did that I felt pretty confident in at the time, because my videos were getting longer and longer. You know, I tend to ramble a lot. You've already seen that just now. No. Sorry. But yeah, and even with smaller sets, I tend, as time goes by and as I have more experience with more different pieces and techniques and some of the backstories behind, you know, the source material, I learn more and more. I talk more and more. So my videos have gotten longer and longer, and especially with the big sets, they got so long, like over a half an hour. And so I figured, okay, this has to be getting boring. Like, one of the problems has to be that I'm getting just too boring for too many people. They don't want to see this much content.
Wow, what a interesting perspective. Okay.
But here's the thing. I have data to prove it.
Sure.
Because you can go into YouTube Analytics and you can see the average amount of time that people watch a given video. Okay. You can see the drop off. Like, they watch You put up a half an hour video and the average view length is 5 minutes. So what about the other 25? Yes, there are people that watch the whole thing, and maybe a third of them watch half of it. But on the average, they're only seeing 5 minutes. So that's why I launched the JANGBRiCKS channel, was to offer people basically the same content distilled down to a very, to a bite size. Right. So, something that would be a half an hour review there became 6 minutes.
Sure.
And it was like mostly just the facts, still relatively casual, but going through like, here's the name of this, here's the front, here's the back,
And what have you discovered with those new channels in the last year?
All right, so sticking with the JANGBRiCKS thing, I discovered that people don't want that kind of content. Yeah, it was a total failure. A lot of people went to check it out. I promoted it early on, and people just don't care that much, especially with the review things, because there are so many ways to get information about the official sets. You find out so much about them before they're even released. The announcements go out, and now everybody's even doing videos about the announcements. Doing kind of like almost reviews just based off the initial pictures. And I've jumped on that bandwagon myself. And so people just didn't really care about about that content, and I'm okay with that.
Sure.
I think that it was a good experiment to do, and I'm sorry for folks that were looking forward to it, but ultimately that one didn't work out. More recently, the second new channel that I started up for Lego stuff was I call it now Jang Builds It.
Okay.
And that's just a speed builds channel. So that one has a really interesting story, and I'm really excited about that one, and it's going well. And there's nothing but goodness behind that one. It's done. I really love this one.
Oh, good.
This is good stuff for so many reasons. First of all, I've done speed builds going back to, I want to say 2011, 2012, when I was doing just the Hero Factory stuff.
Sure.
It was a little bit different the way that I edited it up. It wasn't just pure time lapse, but still, it was reduced amount of time to show the entire build of a product. And I had carried that forward as I went into the brick built based stuff. I tried it different formats, different speeds. I went through one phase where just for a while I tried what I called built in 60 seconds. Every single speed build video was 60 seconds long, just as a thing. People want bite-sized content, just try it, and it's just super fast. It would be a small set, I'd just be moving a little bit slower. Really big set, it's just blurs, but you see a thing, come together. Speed builds never took off on my main channel, on the JANGBRiCKS channel.
Interesting.
Meanwhile, other speed build channels that it existed before me and have come up since have done exceptionally well. So clearly people want to see that type of content, but they didn't want to see it from me, at least not on my channel.
Sure.
Now I've launched off the separate channel and it's working.
Okay.
So people who want to see that type of content want to see that type of content. It's again compartmentalizing and specializing.
Right.
So I'm doing the same, I'll get to that in just a second, not quite the same, but effectively very similar content, but just in a different place and presented in a different way. And people appreciate that. The other things that I personally have really enjoyed about doing that is it got me out of the white void.
Oh.
I've gotten so tired of the white void, which was my own doing. It's a prison of my own making. It's something that I started before the Lego channel. I brought to the Lego channel. I tried doing different things when I first got into doing the reviews. I tried different backgrounds and different styles. Didn't work, went with the white. And I've put so much effort into creating the ultimate white void where I can review a fully white object and you can see it.
Yeah.
That's the toughest thing. That's
Man.
the holy grail, being able to film something that's white against a pure white background. And I've put so much effort into that, so many custom things that I've built for it. People haven't even noticed I've completely changed my lighting just in the past couple of months.
Oh, wow.
I changed out most of my lights and my lighting structure and approach to it for that. I just try so many different things and try to make it better. But ultimately, it's just a white background.
Yeah.
So for the Jang Builds It channel, I created what I call Studio B. It's a new space no white background allowed,
Yeah, yeah.
except for I bring some legacy old speed builds forward. Just sometimes do like a flashback Friday
Sure,
thing where I'll bring back
sure.
some old video, just because it's content, so
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
it together. But for the most part, having not a clean working space, something more casual. Got some like fake plants around. I changed some props in the background, and the lighting is colored and different. Like it's different, and it gives me a warmer space to work in. It's something that I enjoy. It's something where I can be a little bit more creative with what I do. I've tried many different things with camera angles, different ways of showing what I'm doing. So just for me, it's been a relief, and it's been enjoyable to do as a new pursuit. And it's a much more happy physical space for me to be while doing the builds. And of course, the builds have to be done anyway, right? I review 300 plus things. The builds have to be done, so why not take advantage of that content that can be created and share it with people who want to see it.
Right.
The other thing that has come out of that is the third channel, the pure build channel, which I had not planned whatsoever. That was not in my plan until, actually, it was never in my plan. That was just a response to people giving me feedback directly on the speed build channel as I tried to hone in how to do that, how to light it, how fast to go, how much to speed it up. And a lot of people were saying, I would love to just see you, Jang, just building. Wow. Just don't speed it up. Don't put any music back there, because different people have different music tastes anyway.
Sure.
Just show me building. I'm like, what? That's got to be the most boring possible thing. Why would you watch somebody else build a Lego set? Why don't you get that Lego set, or get a Lego set that you want and build it yourself? Even if you, I don't know, it didn't make sense to me, but enough people asked, and I was in a receptive mode because I was doing something new. So I said, you know what? There's absolutely nothing to lose if I start another channel on the side, so I'm not diluting the existing content. I'm not scaring away these new subscribers to this speed build specific channel. Start something on the side and just try it. And I didn't think that I could do it because I worried a lot about sound.
Sure.
Because I've got this guy, who he runs around upstairs, and I don't live alone in the house, and I'm in a neighborhood. There's people around, there's cars and things. So I was really worried about the sound quality. But I've learned enough about audio and gotten good enough equipment to be able to offer up what was originally very, very distilled sound. Now I've gotten it to the point where it's a lot more natural, and it's much, much better. But there are plenty of people that like that.
Yeah.
And it's collected. The content itself is collected in a way that is comfortable to me. That's the one thing I was worried about the most. I didn't want this to be something that I would regret. That's something that I would be uncomfortable doing, physically uncomfortable, having to look around a camera like this and stuff. So I've again done a bunch of experimentation with how to mount cameras and lighting and everything, and I've really enjoyed it.
Okay.
The Pure Builds channel right now has something like 2,000 subscribers, which sounds like nothing compared to 1 million, but it's great. I'm happy. I'm proud of those 2,000 subscribers, and some of the videos are starting to get like 1,000 views each as I put them up, which is fantastic. I wish I could get 50% of my subscriber number worth of views, on the main channel. And I'm happy also with the product that I'm putting out. The quality of the content itself, the video quality, and also the sound quality. And I like sound, I like music, but I've never really studied sound before, and really what is sound and how does it work. And so I've just been able to enrich my own life while making more people happy, and also taking advantage of content that has not been used properly in the past, and also streamlining the main JANGBRiCKS channel so I don't put that stuff there that some of those folks watching that channel don't want to see anymore. So it's just been win-win-win for that. I'm really, really happy about the new stuff. Sorry about the quick brick stuff, but the new stuff is it's good.
That's good. Good. So you said something about a blog earlier, and it reminded me, on your own blog, you went back and you pulled this old article from like years ago, just last month, and you added a new section to the top of it, and it's this discussion on productive criticism versus
Yes.
unproductive
Yes.
criticism.
Yes.
And I found that really interesting, and I love the idea of, putting goodness into the world by helping people learn something about how we all interact with each other, right? And so I was just wondering what sort of prompted you to pull that topic back out.
Okay.
And I think just in a sort of an informal way, can you tell us what's your stance on that?
Yeah. So definitely the prompt for bringing that back to the front. I mean, I've had that as a frequently asked question entry. You're making me uncomfortable here, Bimo. I got to look proper for the cameras. Come on, just lay down. What has prompted me to bring that forward most recently was an article on Brickset. Brickset.com, right? They covered the news announcement, particularly for the big Jurassic Park set with the gate and the dinosaur.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on that were just ripping it apart viciously, like really going for the throat of designers and of Lego itself. Like it has become an evil thing clearly because they're not doing things exactly how a specific set of viewers or fans want to see it. So Hugh of Brickset has actually did a little follow up to that where he asked, he did an article, he said, why the negativity? And it's not about negativity itself being a bad thing. It's not about criticism itself being a bad thing. It's not about not wanting criticism to be posted in the comments on his site any more than in the comments on my own videos and things. It's about how you do it and how deep you go with it. A lot of people like to say, the following is constructive criticism, and then just rip you apart.
Sure.
It's kind of like saying, no offense, but you suck, I hate you, you're the worst person ever.
Right.
Why do you even lead off that way? It doesn't do any good for anybody. Maybe it makes those people who are getting really, really deep with the negativity feel better to get it off, to get something off their chests at the time, to feel something strong. Hate and things like it have very strong emotions attached, which it's literally chemicals that get produced in us, and it makes us feel something, and we like that. But ultimately, none of that does any good. And when you start to saturate an entire community with negativity of that level, it just brings everything down. It starts to negate even the goodness of that community and of that topic. It's happened to so many fandoms, the Star Wars fandom. So many people who love Star Wars, really, really love Star Wars and all that universe has brought to their lives. Oh, about the sequel trilogies, they get so mad. It's ugly. It gets really ugly. I mean, there are some parts of it that are, socio-political, that go off in a different direction. I don't even need to get into, but just, ripping apart things. What were you?
Yeah, I was going to say the Ghostbusters, when certain decisions were made about casting for the 2016 movie.
Sure.
Things just, it's like the whole thing changed. Yeah. And I don't know if it'll ever be the same again.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, hey, maybe the Ghostbusters, the new movie, was not that great of a movie. I mean, I'm sure some people enjoyed it, but I mean, ultimately it's just a movie.
They were tearing it apart before they even had a chance to experience it.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of that it's just like, what is the point? What do you get out of that? You're not going to make any positive change. Like if you think that something wrong is happening, if you feel that Disney is really taking the joy out of Star Wars, for example, and we fans can help to change the future. We can help to change, companies' directions and things, because ultimately they need to make money off of us, so they need to make us happy. Right. So we can make change happen that we want to see, but definitely not by attacking individuals.
Right.
And personal attacks, and like you said right there, just tearing apart something you don't even know. just based on something that's very surface level.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
the color of a piece that is chosen for the main color for an upcoming set that hasn't even been revealed yet, but you saw a leak
Right.
for it, you know, and the camera phone color adjusted thing. You don't even know what color that's really going to be, and already you've dismissed the entire thing. I think it's fine to dislike something, to look at it and just immediately at the surface say, no, that doesn't work for me. Or if it's something that you really believe in and that you really are invested in, and it offends you, offends your eyes, that's okay. We should have different opinions about things, even if we don't agree. Even if you have a super minority opinion, even if it's a whole bunch of people being negative about something, not liking something, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. People make mistakes. Bad stuff is done. Not so good stuff is done, you know.
Right.
Bad decisions are made creatively, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a useful way to respond to that. And of course, you can just be emotional about it. That it's okay to be emotional, but to go for the throat, you know, to go after, keeping it just in the Lego realm, to go after designers themselves, or to call all of the Lego company just nothing but greedy and empty souls now because they're not making classic castle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, to not like something and to rob anyone else of their opportunity to like that thing are two completely different things, two completely different motives, right?
Yeah.
And it
that's a real problem, where it gets to the point where that mob mentality sets in, where you have to think a certain way, otherwise you are wrong.
Right.
And I have to call out some specifics from what I personally have seen, is with some consistency. In Germany is huge on Lego. It's been one of the biggest markets of Lego since the beginning. But a lot of German fans I've seen in particular have gotten to the point where they're just so negative about every new thing that the company does that it's scary. It's people who love this stuff, and yet they're creating this environment where if you like something new that Lego makes, doesn't matter what it is, anything new that they make, if you like it, you're not a true fan. Think about that.
Yeah.
If you like something that Lego makes, you're not a true Lego fan.
Yeah, that's wild.
It doesn't even make sense. I mean, I can kind of understand the twisted way it comes about. And again, it's perfectly valid to not like something. And if you don't like anything that Lego's made this year, that's fine, but don't try to ruin it for everybody else.
Right.
And don't begin to think that your opinion is the only valid opinion. Especially when it comes to us adults, because Lego is a toy company.
Right.
They've catered to us more and more. Certainly, you know, they've got the architecture series, they've got the modular buildings, you know, they're doing more expert level things for us, for teens and adults.
Right.
But it's still a toy company, and at least 80%, I'm being super conservative, at least 80% of their stuff goes to kids. So you cannot call them greedy and soulless and just evil for making toys focused on kids.
Yeah, that's true. And I think there must be a difference between the people who are being vocal with their keyboards and the people who are actually representing the majority of the people buying sets, whether it's for themselves or for their children.
Right.
And you know, the people who are enjoying it, because they wouldn't do it. Lego's not right. Like, of course, maybe something comes up every now and then that is a blunder.
Absolutely.
But for the most part, like, they're not gonna do something that isn't going to work.
Yeah. If you think of it in the coldest way possible, that they are just a corporation, not with people, but just robots, right? They're just a company, a machine that exists to make money. They're gonna make products that sell.
Right.
So if everything they make is stuff that's terrible, that nobody wants, they're gonna go out of business. And yet they're one of the top toy companies today. They're one of the top companies. Yeah. Period. You know, I think they had hit the #1 point, and now they're kind of bouncing back and forth with
Sure.
Hasbro and Mattel. But still, for having one product line is essentially compared to all these other companies that cover the full gamut from ride-on toys to
Right.
tiny little things, and to be in the profit position that they are. Clearly, they're doing not just some things right, but most things
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking a lot about the way people interact online.
Yeah.
Let's focus specifically on your channels.
Okay.
I know you or someone close to you sees every comment, right?
Yes, yes.
And so expand on that a little bit. What's your strategy there?
Yep.
What have you seen change over the years? Comments on JANGBRiCKS.
Yep. So yeah, I've been into online communities since I've been moderating actually in online communities since either 93 or 94.
Yeah.
With the earliest stuff that I was involved in being pre-web, not even internet, but dial-up. Yeah, exactly. So I've seen enough. I've run my own pretty popular set of network of forums at one point. Community chat forums, hobby related. That I know that people need to be kept in check. There need to be checks and balances. And when you come to something as big and as open as YouTube or anything of that size, you've got to just kind of set the rules right from the start, and don't give it room to grow on its own to figure out where people are. Just set your rules, set your boundaries from the start, unless you want to have a completely open thing. But for something where I've got a lot of kids that are watching and a lot of adults also that just don't want to see a bunch of cursing and awful stuff, I just set almost from the beginning of the channel, I think it was, all comments moderated, period. So it's myself and people close to me who go through. Somebody views every single comment, and every once in a while something may get through that we accidentally click on 2 checkboxes or something.
Sure.
But for the most part, we make sure that the comment section on any channel that I own, that I run, or that I'm associated with is clean, is as clean as the videos, the content that I make. So no cursing. And I've actually learned about words that people consider to be cursing that I didn't consider to be, just from more conservative communities, which is fine. And I've had no problem adapting to that to make sure that, the widest reasonable range of my viewership is not offended, by stuff that either I say or that they see in the comments. And YouTube comments can be an extremely scary place when unmoderated, and they've been responsible. The YouTube comments have been responsible for many of the crises that YouTube has gone through in the most recent few years. That they've had these major apocalypses and things, and major changes that they've had to make. A lot of that has been through comments. So I've made sure that has not been a problem on my channels. It does require quite a lot of work. At the peak, it's been like, 1,000 comments in a day to go through, because it's not just new stuff. Most people see that, I've got to comment on the newest channel if I want them to see it, but I'm actually responding to stuff on all of my videos, going all the way back to the Hero Factory stuff. Obviously I'm not able to respond to all comments, and I personally probably don't see every comment. I tend to go back, like if I've been away from the system for a while, and others have been moderating and approving comments, I'll go and do a quick run through and just see, if anything stands out, if anything, if there's any direct question to me, that is valuable to provide a public answer to. But every single thing is seen by a human who has similar values to me, and keeping things clean. As far as stuff that I've seen stuff that I will not talk about, just horrible behavior to and by children. And definitely everybody moderate your comments. I strongly recommend it. But fortunately, the bad stuff has been less and less, especially on my channels. People know better than to try. It's mostly, people are kind of flying through that just, drop a little bomb here, and then they're never going to be back. So it has really not been that difficult. It's still just a lot of manual labor to read all the stuff, hit a bunch of check boxes, you know, and go through it. But it hasn't changed really that much over time. I would say I'm seeing more non-Lego fans coming in. You know, folks that have not been in Lego since the beginning of my channel or the beginning of their viewership of this type of content. They're just more interested in, maybe like they're interested in Star Wars, or they're interested in Stranger Things, you know, and they come and they see, oh, there's a Lego set about that. Like I know Lego, I know what Lego is, or maybe I had Lego, or a friend of mine's kids are all into Lego. You know, they saw the Lego movie, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it definitely seems like there are more people on YouTube who are coming in who are seeing Lego related content that are not themselves, you know, they wouldn't consider themselves to be Lego fans. And that's great, because that means, you know, it's room for expansion and also just sharing the good experiences with more different people. But as far as the moderation stuff, it's just a must. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on my personal channel, I get a lot of comments, not a lot, but it seems like I get a lot of comments about people who don't understand why I wear a beard without a mustache. And when I got here today, I realized that we both, well, yours is pretty tight, and mine is kind of
I recently trimmed it down. It gets about 2 to 3 times this in the front, but yeah.
But you shave your mustache.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that there must be a lot of people out there that don't understand why a person would wear the beard. Although we've got Abraham Lincoln in our past. Some people think like you would only do that if you were Amish. People literally say like, what are you, Amish?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, so what if I was Amish? Like, you know, so do you have anything to say about the way you wear your beard? I think it's funny that it's something I can
we have in common. So in my case, I change my facial hair style from time to time, like maybe every, I don't know, 5 years or so, whenever it feels like. I've done mustaches before, but mustaches in 2019 just generally aren't particularly cool, especially if you're not able to connect it. That's the biggest problem for me, is I'm not able to connect it. If I could get it to go all the way, then I would take this off and do this kind of thing, try different shapes there. But I'm not able to get anything to grow in here except for just like light colored stubble, and it's terrible. It's awful. So I end up with this like, I don't know, it's just not right, just a not right mustache. So just get rid of that. But I want to have some hair. So. And I don't like to shave. I just trim short.
Okay.
Easy. He's hearing the dogs next door. But yeah, so that's my story. What's your story?
My wife doesn't like the mustache.
Okay.
When we first got married, I had just hair on my chin.
Yeah.
And then I connected it, or maybe I connected it just before. I think when we started dating, I had just hair on my chin, and by the time we got married, I connected it for the first time.
Okay.
And that was when, I was 20, 21, something like that, maybe 22. But anyway, and then I just had never connected this, and I've tried a couple times to let the mustache grow in, and she's like, "You've got to get rid of it." And so when people are like, "Why don't you like why are you wearing a beard?" My wife likes it. Like, I don't have any need beyond that. But anyway. So I think you have a unique perspective on the fan community. I think most people would either be very active in the fan community, going to local club meetings, going to fan conventions, as well as all the online interaction. Or you'd have people who are completely disconnected from the fan community and have no frame of reference for it.
Okay.
You're kind of in a unique spot where you don't do the stuff in person with people, but you've got an incredible amount of interaction with people online.
Yeah.
So what have you observed over the years from your perspective on the fan community?
Okay. First of all, I would say, kind of tying into what we were talking about before about communities in general and negativity, positivity, and things. I would say that definitely, without a question, Lego fans as a group are some of the better. It's one of the better fandoms, I think, that I've seen. Period. I've seen quite a few, including a number that are close to toys, and toy and modeling related. The Lego community is actually really good. I think part of it is the subject matter itself that kind of lends itself, or kind of pre-filters people, to get interested into it, because no matter what your age is, you're going to be looking at some plastic bricks that are really colorful with these really comic shaped people with really big heads, and there's just something fun and innocent about it. And I think people that want to be nasty generally kind of get pushed away from that. They just don't want to have anything to do with it. So we end up with this pre-filtered community of folks that in general are actually some of the cooler folks that you'll meet. And you can see, just I'm sure that you guys have experienced it more than I ever will, of seeing in person the reactions, the facial expressions of people of all ages, coming together and having all these things in common, and yet having such different interests. The Bionicle folks, or the folks who are focused on architecture or more realistic things, and the folks that go completely in the fantasy direction, or that just focus on Star Wars, or one or other thing. There's so many different niches, but they all get along pretty dang well. Yeah. So I'd say if there's one word that I could use to describe my feelings about the Lego community in general, which is it's a large group, it's proud.
Oh,
Just as fandoms go these days, it's some of the cooler folks, and to have such a broad variety of people, to have folks who are our age and twice our age, able to do the same stuff as literal kids.
Yeah.
And have this common language that is the bricks, or the pieces.
Right.
Is fantastic. It's really good. And of course nowadays more and more social interactions occur online. That's just been a natural progression of society, of humanity, as the technology has become more and more prevalent, to have social interactions through now phones. I mean, 10 years ago, who would have thought of that? 20 years ago, would you have ever thought that you would be conversing with millions of people at your fingertips while you're, standing in line at a Starbucks or something like that?
Yeah.
So, maybe folks who are quite a bit older than us will look at that and be like, oh, they're not being human anymore. You've lost the heart. Everything's just through text. Yeah, there's some of that, but there's still real people behind, holding these phones and stuff. And you can see that personality. You can see people's personality coming through in text quite a bit. It won't always exactly match how, when you meet them, how they look and everything,
Sure.
But ultimately you can see what people are about, what they're interested in, what their general kind of the color of their soul. If you think of it in the sense of like the mood ring, mood rock kind of thing, like you can kind of see, what they're made of. And I see mostly good. Certainly there have been some worrying trends that have come in, especially as the community has grown and has brought in more different people. But yeah, just in general, it seems like a very diverse group. It's almost difficult to call us Lego enthusiasts when we have people who come at it from such different angles. 8-wide train enthusiasts are a very different bunch from folks who might be building like Friends themed classic neoclassic space bases,
Yeah.
But it's still just primarily good, and that's mostly because I think of the medium itself and the type of folks that the medium selects to be its own fans.
Oh, that's good. I feel like there are a few ways that I, in watching you over the years, and particularly in focusing on the conversations that Joshua had with you last year,
Okay.
a couple of ways that I just kind of identify with you. One is besides the beard, one is the collector gene. You kind of talked about this, like the collector gene, and I. That so resonates with me because I can look at my dad and like tell you about his collections, and tell you about my mom's collections, and tell you about my sister's collections, tell you about my collections, not just one of them, but all of them, right? My collection of collections.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't get it.
Okay.
So that's where I was like, yes, it's got to be
It's
a
a
thing.
thing. Yeah.
And what I've had to grapple with over the years is how do I manage this desire to collect because I have limited resources, I have limited space.
Yes.
I'm curious about you. You know, you have the RC stuff, you've got the knives, you've got the Lego stuff. You know, you've got your other channels with the Mega Bloks stuff, the Playmobil stuff.
Yep.
How over the years have you oriented yourself to the practice of and the desire to collect without your house looking like someone from? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
tell us about that.
Yeah, without becoming an accidental hoarder.
Right.
Yeah. So first of all, yes, definitely collector gene, definitely a thing, and I think it's a real thing. I think that scientists will probably discover something that is genetically leaning us towards wanting to collect things, because there are animals that have that gene. Pack rats are an actual thing. It's not just something that we call, humans who collect all the things. There are pack rats. They literally go out, they look for shiny things, and they just bring them back. And that's all that they do, because it makes them feel good. We collect because it makes us feel good, ultimately, right?
Yeah.
But as far as managing it, man, discipline. Definitely discipline, a discipline forward approach to getting into any collection. And that can go into the point of sub collections as well. Like within Lego, I could easily start collecting all the Star Wars sets, in addition to all the collectible minifigures that we covered in a separate video as well. I've got the city, but then what about Lego City? Like Lego City is a theme, and they've made a lot of cool things. What about Lego Town? Like the stuff that inspired me, that I used to look at in those little catalogs. I could easily go through and just start buying all the things as finances allow. Certainly financial responsibility, I think, just for doing the adult thing is super important.
Right.
Doesn't matter what your status, whether you're married or not, or what your social status is, whether you're a kid or you're an adult. Financial responsibility, you've got to keep that. You've got to keep that, taken care of. You got to do that right. Never spend beyond your means. It's kind of a preachy kind of thing, but seriously, that's one thing that has always limited me, no matter what. Like, I will not spend beyond my means, and I always try to, spend well within. But still, within that, it doesn't matter what your means are. You can always find something to spend on, and you can call something necessary. You can convince yourself that you need to do something, and whether it's healthy or not, or whether it's reasonable or a mature thing to do, ultimately because of finances or space or who you live with, or whatever your situation is, it just comes down to discipline. You've got to be able to look ahead a little bit, recognize what can become not necessarily a problem, but can become something big, and know that you need to limit it somehow. Unless you're just super rich and you're just able to buy everything, and if you run out of space, then you get more space. But come on, most of us aren't in that kind of a world,
Yeah. And so you review so many new things each year.
Yeah.
Do you take those things in, experience them, and then part with some of them? Do all your pieces just get sorted?
I've had the good fortune of a life path that has allowed me to enjoy something and then disconnect from it. It's an acquired skill.
Sure.
Especially having the collector gene and being fully able to just, as far as psychologically being fully able to just say, okay, I'm just going to keep all this because it's all good. So what's wrong with me keeping it? I'll find space, and I've got space. I could take some space away from the city for storage stuff. Like, I can do that, but I've fortunately gotten to the point where I am able to get something that I really, really like and really, really wanted, maybe even for a long time, and to still be able to let it go, which I absolutely need. It's practically a survival skill, given what I do. Like I said, going through literally hundreds of sets. Many of them I really enjoy. I really like. Not all of them would I buy for myself, but I definitely extract a lot of enjoyment from them that I could easily hold on to by keeping them.
Yeah.
But most things I don't keep. At least I don't keep it together. So my wife is responsible for the department of disassembly.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah, okay.
takes all the sets apart. I keep very little together, even things that, in the course of over the course of reviewing, I'll come up with something that's truly special to me. That's like, this deserves a spot in my longer term collection. A lot of those things ultimately get broken down also,
Right.
because I've had the experience and I don't feel the need to keep even those things. Very few things do I really keep long term. Even things that are super nostalgic to me that I've rebought from my childhood in Lego and non-Lego, I've been able to let go of. But within Lego itself, specifically, most things get broken down into pieces. Sets where there are a lot of new pieces that I really like, or a lot of pieces in colors that I don't have enough of, I'll just, we'll just sort, and I'll keep the parts to build custom things later on. And then with what's left, it gets divided up into donate, to charity, and resell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, that's cool. Is it something similar with like how I don't have a good frame of reference for like how much Playmobil you've had coming into this house, and is it a similar process or your other?
I have a Playmobil city room.
Okay.
So
Oh wow.
that stuff I have not gotten into reselling. I think I've donated some of it.
Okay.
I haven't resold enough stuff yet. I actually need to kind of scale that back a little bit. It's just, again, just a matter of managing the limits.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very similar thing there.
Yeah.
Keeping the things that are important for the city layout, for other people to enjoy, and also for me to enjoy a little bit. But keeping it in its place, keeping it limited. And you'll see. I think we'll probably get another opportunity at some point to do some filming in room 117 to see the Mega Blocks stuff.
Nice.
Joshua came through and gave a good look. People can see that on your channel as well.
Yeah,
But that's another thing where it's a bunch of stuff that I've collected, but with limits.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, another thing that I feel like we have in common is 2 Dark Ages.
Oh,
For some of the people who don't know,
yeah.
You come into this fandom and there's all this terminology. Tell us what we mean by Dark Ages.
Okay.
And why did you have 2?
Yeah.
And tell us about them.
God, that actually ties right into what we were just talking about. So a Dark Age is, of course, the time when you're not involved in Lego. We're young, we play with toys. We get to our teenage years, at some point, a lot of us get to where we're too cool for that stuff. Like, come on, the toys are for babies. Like, come on, we're not into that. We're into, technology and socializing and stuff. And so we go into our dark age where we are away from something that's actually really, really good for us and that would continue to bring great joy to us and others around us, but we're just too cool for it. So we go away, and then eventually we grow up enough to realize that I need to play with toys again.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so we come back to it. So I mean, of course, you know that. Yeah. So I didn't know that you've had 2 dark ages. So I'll tell you about my 2 dark ages. The first one was between childhood and when I had my first full-time stable job and had the financial ability to have hobbies that cost money again. And it was like I had girlfriend and car and friends and job. Hobbies? I need hobbies. So I started looking around. I want just some other extra stuff to do on the side. I still kind of had that hobbying mindset.
Right.
So I was ready for it. I started looking around for other stuff and kind of pulled back into my childhood, things that I was interested back then. And I pulled out 2 things: Lego and RC cars. Yeah. As a kid, I had 1 RC car. I had 1 RC tank, which showed up in I think was it episode 1 or 2? I think it was 1 of Stranger Things, season 3. That tank, that exact RC tank from Radio Shack. They actually modified theirs. It has a new set of electronics in it because it had full control. But I had that. That was my first ever RC vehicle, the exact same one, which is awesome to see. I had that, and then I had 1 car, which I've since rebought. But yeah, this was around 99. Yeah, I think around 1999, 2000 or so. Okay. I was working at Ask Jeeves, which was a natural language search engine company. I think they still exist at ask.com. I'm not sure. But they kind of yeah, Google came up. We used to laugh at Google. Like it's just a single prompt on the screen. Like there's just a single text box there, and then it gives text results. Like nobody wants that. People want more human results. Like this is for nerds. It's for super geeks. I'm a nerd, but you know, it's not for the masses. But now Google has taken over everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was working for that company that has now pretty much failed. But yeah, I went out and I bought some Lego sets. I think some of the first ones that I got were some divers sets, and I forget what else. I got one small dragon related thing, and then some city related stuff. And then I went out to Toys R Us that was nearby at the time with a good buddy of mine from college, and we got ourselves a pair of RC trucks from Toys R Us. We got some of the best ones. They were like $100 each, which was like top of the line. It had digital proportional steering and throttle. Come on, stuff of dreams as a kid. And then we actually went out to an actual RC racing facility, a professional place that actually rents land to create a scale dirt track with jumps and everything, with staff that, you know, like this is serious stuff. And we realized that our top of the line Nico toys are terrible. Like we can't even bring these close to this track. And so I simultaneously got into Lego and very serious RC cars. And I grew in both, and I reached a point where, for the sake of being an adult, I needed to choose one. I couldn't do both of these. One of the things I was going off in the direction of with Lego was actually Mindstorms. You know, and that's a rabbit hole, if ever there's been one, because robotic stuff, you know, you can go crazy with this. It's so expensive. But I needed to choose just one. I couldn't focus on multiple hobbies. And I made the wrong choice. I went into RC cars, which I had tremendous fun with. I grew tremendously, learned a lot of technical stuff, had a lot of fun, did a lot of great projects. Eventually grew up into a YouTube channel for that, multiple YouTube channels for that hobby, did that whole thing. But eventually that stuff kind of dried up as far as how I could interact with it. The nearest racing facility to me moved away, and just kind of laws and attitudes of people in general made it more difficult to just take super fast, super powerful 60-mile-an-hour RC cars out to a park and just play around. I was always very responsible with this stuff, but still, you know, there are always people that aren't responsible, that bring the gas ones out with kids around and stuff. So, you know, it became more difficult for me to find places that allowed that. So I ended up pulling back on that and getting back into Lego, which partially came through work. Is a whole other story. I don't know if you have time for that, but I got into Bionicle quite by chance, and eventually started bringing myself back towards the brick build stuff, and that's how we got to where I am today. But that's how I ended my second dark age, and hopefully I will have no more.
There you go. All right, that's great. Oh, I love that. A couple of questions that I just ask anyone who builds with Lego. Do you have a favorite element?
I feel like I'm being put on the spot here right now. I'd say right now probably the hollow stud is one of the most interesting and most useful pieces, because it has so much utility in such a small space. Anti-stud, positive stud, and being able to connect to things with bars on them. So much you can do with that. So, ask me the same question tomorrow and maybe I'll have a different answer. But I think that's a good one for right now.
That's good. How about color? You have a favorite Lego color?
I really like the coral that they've just come up with. I don't know what to do with it, but it's got to be the most vibrant color that I've seen in any physical product in recent years. I also like the transparent, anything transparent. I pretty much, transparent and colored especially. Red, green, I love that stuff. But yeah, that coral, I gotta figure out how to use that more.
You've talked about the RC stuff. You've talked about the Lego stuff, and you've got your other channels. If there was something that you, oh, and even the way you said, I made the right choice, well, you know, about Lego, or if there's something that you could imagine doing in the future that you haven't tried yet, can you imagine what it would be? You've got a YouTube channel that's wildly successful, and it's about something you haven't tried yet.
That's not even Lego related?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I don't know. It doesn't. You can go either way.
Yes, because I mean, if it was Lego related, then I would want to have full automation, like you know, like the miniature Wunderland.
Yeah.
The Placer car. I think Placer cars. I might be saying that wrong, but probably. But wires underneath the road, and then the cars are self-propelled and all that kind of stuff. Really bringing miniature stuff in general to life. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Okay.
But I'd love to be able to do that. Another thing is something with plants and terrain, like real, like miniature terrains, but living. You know, I don't know. Landscaping. As a kid, I used to do landscaping. It was one of my first jobs. Was not just mowing lawns, but you know, actually setting up people's like front gardens and things. It was just something I was interested in. But I like natural landscapes and natural scenes. One show that I like to watch on cable is, of course, now I don't remember the name of it. The pool one, the one where the guy down in Florida does. It's like insane pools or something. Why am I not remembering the exact name of it? But yeah, just, you know, he creates all these scenes with rocks. He's all into rocks and stacking them and creating waterfalls. And then, you know, he's got a family member that brings in the bromeliads that grow out and stuff like. So being able to do something with plants and terrain creation, kind of a different way of doing miniatures, but actual life in small scale and creating whole scenes with that.
Oh, wow. It makes it sound like so you don't believe your minifigures are alive down there.
Well, I mean,
okay. I feel like I had one other thing I wanted to. Oh, you've been so intentional over the years about, you know, and I think I may have asked you a little bit about this, about, you know, the top of the table on your city. It's yours.
Yes, yeah.
And you've got some stuff underneath that's sort of like viewer, you know, viewer inspired. Yeah. But I feel like I remember many years ago, you would open your videos about your own creations, and you would say something very intentional like, you know, this is my take on this. I'm not really taking recommendations about how this thing should be changed. You know, and I kind of, I saw that a little bit in the way you've delineated between the piece of what you do that's for you and the piece of what you do that's for your viewers. Can you just talk about how did you come to that? How did you realize that was something you needed to do? What about it is for you, and then what about it is for your viewers? Yeah,
so definitely the custom stuff for the most part, and especially with the city, that's my own desire. That's all, you know, inspiration that I get. That's my creative outlet. It's something that I want to do.
Right.
You know, and if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would still be doing much of that.
Yeah.
Before YouTube existed, when I came out of my first dark age, when I first started getting to Lego, what did I start doing? At Ask Jeeves, we had these half-height walls, and they had, you know, it was like 4 or 5 inches of ledge, and where my cubicle was, that started to become a Lego city. Eventually, they made those almost full height. It was like 3/4 height, so I just moved it up, and it was the Ask Jeeves Lego City. So that's really from me. I don't care how many views my 2015 city tour has gotten. It's the most popular. Great, excellent. I hope that's entertained a lot of people, but that's not what I do the city for. It's not what I do the YouTube channel for. The city is me doing my hobby. You know, it's just my model stuff. And the reason that I've in the past wanted to be more explicit about, you know, creating that delineation and kind of, a lot of people take offense to it, you know, if I say, you know, don't tell me what to do essentially here, but I don't think I'm being unreasonable about that, because
Sure.
it's more just defending against the many people that at one time, they've kind of learned over time with me, but it used to be like, no, change that. It wasn't suggestions. It was, I am a subscriber, so do what I tell you to do. Just that sense of entitlement, which it's immature and it's wrong. Like, I won't accept that. It's something that I needed to put the stop on, and to make sure that I was explicit about that, so that I set the expectations up front. People know that this is not something that I'm doing for YouTube, that this is not something that I'm doing on behalf of the viewers. You cannot tell me to take out all of my trains and replace it with an airport. I'm not going to put an airport in, not because airports are bad, just it's not what I want to do. So you can suggest it, that's fine, as long as it doesn't get insane with all the comments being the same thing. Online stuff gets crazy, but
I think that there's a lot of ways that the stuff we build is our art. It's our hobby. And of course, there are 1,000 different ways to do that. And sure, you can tell me that there's some other way to do that. But this was my way. And I think that there's actually something kind of cool about, like, even my first iteration of a thing, like whether I want to change it or not. Anyway,
even if you don't like, even if over time you end up not liking the end results, like with me, like I talked about, when we were doing the video of going through the city and what's new in it, I mentioned that I don't like the police station anymore. I am going to destroy it and replace it with something that I now consider to be better. But would I take back the initial creation of that thing? No. Was it bad at the time? It was the same then as it is now. I can just do better now, but I couldn't then. And so I did what I could, and I enjoyed it. And I don't think that was a bad thing for it to not be perfect. And again, with the whole idea of criticism comes into feedback as well. Criticism is absolutely fine. If I do something and a lot of people think that it doesn't look good, it's fine for them to say, well, here's what I don't like about that. That's positive to me. That's not a negative thing. That's people caring enough to let me know, not only, here's a negative feeling that I have about it, but here's what I think you could do better. So that's fine. It's just, don't tell me as if it is yours just because you're a subscriber. I appreciate you being a subscriber, being a follower and everything, but ultimately, if you don't like what I'm doing, then don't be a subscriber. Don't watch. If you don't want to see, if you don't like my sensibility and how I design things, as primitive as it may still be relative to true masters, then just don't watch. But don't tell me to be different, because I'm not going to do that. And I'm old enough and confident in myself enough to know that I don't need to change because a bunch of other people want me to change. So it's just it's good for self-health to know that, and to, when dealing online, to kind of put it forward.
If you could receive an email from anyone today and be super stoked because you got an email from so-and-so, who would it be?
Jamie Berard.
Really?
Sure. He's freaking awesome, and his story of how he got into the company is it's just from being a regular fan and everything, like, and his work is incredible. It's just I would be tickled pink. I would be telling everybody about that.
Well, that's great.
But I mean ultimately,
I think who else has designed as many iconic things as that guy, right? Like,
I mean, they've got a bunch of heavy hitters on the roster right now. I certainly would be just humbled to get any direct feedback or any direct contact from anyone at Lego. Even when they just on Twitter, if the official account likes one of my one of my posts or something, and it's like it's like it's it's fun. But Jamie Berard just sticks out. He's always smiling, and it's just genuine joy
Yeah.
that guy has.
Yeah.
You know?
Josh, was it Joshua that interviewed Jamie, and he talked a lot about like back in '99 or something like that when he sort of like made this transition from a fan to a designer, and just everything he's done since then. That's a great answer. I'm sorry that my initial action was really, because it was like, I think at first I was like, how do you not just like know Jamie Berard? But but that's a wonderful answer. Oh man, now my wheels are turning. This has been so much fun. Okay, just 2 more questions. Joshua asked you last year about your favorite set, and you had a hard time answering, and that's always a hard one for people to answer. So this is I'm going to give you a little bit different version of that question.
Okay.
Do you think there is a season of the product line, if you can look back at the product line and say like this number of years was the renaissance of the Lego product line, or
like the golden years
era, you know? What do you think?
Because it's pretty dang good right now with the selection of parts that are available, with the level of detail that you can get. It's really good, right? So totally biased by nostalgia, admittedly. Definitely the late 80s, early 90s, that era just is when, you know, it just connects with me the most with the basic 4-wide cars, you know, and the sunroofs and stuff, you know, some of the classic space. But for me, classic space and town, I think town was probably peak Lego. You know, Legoland town sub-theme was probably peak Lego in the late 80s to early 90s. Just for me, I'm totally biased. And so many of the specialized themes that they did back then are just nothing compared to what they can do today. Honestly, objectively, if I look at it, you know, without nostalgia goggles on, you know, what kids can get today for $10 or $20 compared to what they could back then, you know, adjusted for inflation, there's no comparison really. But nostalgia, I think, is still a valid thing, and I still love that era. You know, but looking at it from a bigger perspective and thinking from the perspective of the fans, for the fans of a given day, today's fans are really lucky, man. From small sets like that little $10 space shuttle set from City for this year, it's good. And it's so much better than the tiny sets of classic space. It's just, there's more you can do with it, you know, there's more detail, it's bigger. Stuff today is really good. Not everything is good, but we're living in a pretty lucky time to be Lego fans.
That's great. You answered my next question, which was going to be, what do you think about the current product line? And I feel like you've done a good job answering that. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our viewers while we have you?
No, I gotta get out of here.
Okay. Jang, this has been so good. I really appreciate you having us. It's been such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out all of the other videos and with Jang in his city with minifigures. They're all here. He also did an interview with us, or a walkthrough with us, that I think will end up on his channel. So that hopefully will be worth watching as well. As always, until next time, thanks for watching.